Peace, everybody. Welcome to another segment of Masterminds Monday. I am one of your hosts, Sister Felicia Tara Alanu. We are also here with our other host, Brother Damon Rawls.
Greetings, greetings. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How about you?
Oh, I'm great, great.
Wonderful, wonderful. So the energy's up a little bit more from last week's show when we were a little bit angry and depressed. So I mean, if you missed this last week, definitely just check out the archives on Enlightenment Transformation Network on YouTube, and you can check out our show on supporting African cultural centers. We definitely need to continue supporting each other. Because they will just vanish and disappear. So definitely check out that show. But today, we're a little bit more upbeat, and tonight we are going to carry on and finish out our theme of, tapping into divination to see what topic we should explore as we were doing the past few weeks on Masterminds Monday. And before we get into our show, I just want to make a quick announcement. Again, we have our monthly webinars. The next one is in January, so you have plenty of time to get yourself organized and ready in RSVP for the upcoming event. And you can go to sedulhouse.com and you can register for the event there. So it's a couple places, but as of now, I believe it's available for RSVP today. So certainly get your seat nice and early. Of course, it's very comfortable. These webinars are done where you can access them from the comfort of your home. And we have the whole lineup for the year. So the first one is on meditation, and I believe it's in January. I don't know the date for sure, but just definitely go to sedulhouse.com and you'll see all the details there, and you can also RSVP in advance. And definitely always come and check out us at the Alpha Omega store. That, again, is your one-stop shop for all of your spiritual and self-development needs. From classes you can get there, your spiritual consultations you can get there, as well as the actual store products, from OB divination to Florida water to bamboo soap, flax soap, brass bells, ogun pots, you name it, we have it. So definitely go check it out, and then contact us, of course, if you are looking for something that you can't find in your own, local community, because we do also try to specialize in finding things that are hard to find, especially since our classes are online and our students are across the globe, and sometimes remote areas where it's very hard to even get a black candle. So, come to Alpha Omega store, contact us, email us, share, tell everybody about us, because we're constantly putting new products and hard to find products as well on our site that will help to aid you in your spiritual and your self-development work. So, Brother Damon, did you have any
Well, the only announcement is that DRC is expanding. So, if you guys missed last week, I talked about internships and possible partnership opportunities. So that is still going on. And if you have any skill set in marketing or budget, financial analysis, or strategic planning, then reach out to me. You can shoot me an email, damon@damonrawls.com, or you could get on any of the Facebook platforms and find me. But we're expanding, and so we're looking for people to come on board.
beautiful, beautiful. And again, definitely check them out. We don't make
Yep.
these announcements for our health, so definitely, look up the website, check us out, and if you don't need the service, send it to someone else who you think may need that service. Again, it's all about supporting each other. So for tonight, we wanted to get into our topic, and it's about the power of faith and trust for successful business. And again, this was inspired through the divination oracle that I use, which is called the medicine cards. And the medicine cards it's a native system, and it speaks to teachings and of pathways to power through the teachings of animals, through the teachings of nature. And the card that came up for us tonight was the porcupine. So I'm sure a lot of things come to your mind when you think of the porcupine. You think of those quills that are sticking out, but it actually represents several things, but the main theme that it speaks to within this system is innocence. So again, that's just having that childlike innocence. So when you think of a child, I at least know, I think about how just open and just overly faithful and trustful you were in any and everything. That's why you have the parents saying, hey, you can't talk to strangers. Hey, you don't just take candy from a stranger, because kids are just trusting. They're like, oh, hey, yeah, sure, thank you. I remember one day I was walking to the corner store and this little girl just starts walking with me and talking to me. And I'm like, where's your mom? Where's your dad? She just totally trusted me. And she said, well, I'm not supposed to walk by myself, but you look nice. And I just need to walk by you while I cross the street, you know. But she was just so like, she was so cute, but she was just so trusting and faithful. She looked at me and said, you look trustworthy. I can talk to you. I'll use you to help me get across the street, because I don't feel like, I don't know, she had to wait for a parent or something and they didn't show up in time or whatever. But kids, they're just so, that's why they get into trouble. They're so just trusting, even when they shouldn't be trusting. But there's something to learn from that. And that's what the porcupine, the medicine of the porcupine teaches us. It's the medicine of the place of like the childlike innocence and humility. Kids are very humble. They're also very playful. And, it speaks to having that power of faith and trust, because that is what gives us that ability, like they say, to move mountains, faith and trust. And it involves you having trust in the stuff that we talk about. Again, we're here talking about indigenous spirituality. And if you really are connected to it and you're really tapping into the flow of that, it takes away that fear that is always the number one blockage to us fulfilling our dreams or realizing our goals. Whether it is, I want to start my own business, or I want to be an actor, or whatever, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom, and whatever your goals are, it seems like fear and that doubt always seeps in, of course, as an adult, that says, hey, you can't do that. Oh, you got these other responsibilities. You kind of take away that childlike innocence that says, hey, I can do anything. It speaks to that power of imagination. And that also takes us back to the self-actualization tour, when Chief was teaching about how to self-actualize, how to kind of like step into your own divine right to whatever it is that your purpose is, whatever it is that you came here specifically to do. And a lot of that takes that power of imagination. And, it speaks to having willpower and imagination. And that kind of helps you to kind of, okay, I can see it in my mind. I believe it. And then that encourages you to make the steps to actually act out those things. Because where the mind goes, the body follows. So this is kind of what it goes back to, that medicine of the porcupine. When you have just that unshakable faith and trust in yourself and what your goals are and in your spirituality, and knowing that, okay, everything is going to be all right. And not just because I'm praying to some Orisha or affirming to some Orisha, it's because I'm actually going to take the steps to do these things that I want for my life, and I believe in it. Because like we always say, we do a lot of spirituality and rituals here, but that's half the work. You have to do the rest. You have to do the rest. So this is what this is kind of talking about. And sometimes to get yourself going, you have to have faith and trust in yourself and in what you're doing in order for it to work, whether it's the actual ritual part of what your goals are, to the actual practical part of, okay, I have to get up every day at 6 o'clock to whatever it is, jog so I can lose 10 pounds, or to start working on my business before I actually go to work, because this is the only time I have to myself. You have to do the work, and that's the hard part. The magic part is easy. The hard part is the actual work that you have to do, but you have to have that faith, again, like a child does, and to really believe in yourself so that you can see yourself manifesting these. And this is taught across several different systems, even in scientific. People actually draw things for a living for companies to kind of help people get the vision of whatever it is their mission is. And, it really does change the whole organization, because people can now like, oh, I see what the vision is of this organization. So now I can kind of like, help you fulfill it. Before I couldn't see it, so I couldn't believe it. So it's about seeing, believing, and acting. And the porcupine is that's the medicine that it kind of offers us to do that, with the foundation of having faith and trust. So I don't want to take up the whole show. So Brother Damon, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, no. When I think about when I think about the innocence of childhood and the way the porcupines speak, it kind of speaks to me of the tenacity of children too. And people don't think of children as tenacious, but think about when you're standing in front of, or a little one is standing in front of you, and they ask for a piece of candy, and they say, "I want a piece of candy." You go, "No," and they just look at you like you're the one in the wrong because they wanted it. And then they ask you again, "No, can I have a piece of candy?" And you're like, "Didn't I just tell you no?" "Yeah, but can I have a piece of candy?" Like they're tenacious and they keep going until they get what they want. Until you break down or you just, then they'll come back even when you are at your lowest, then they'll come back like, "Hey, can I have a piece of candy?" And they end up winning, because they don't hear the no. They don't get it. And sometimes when you're given a dream, you got to just, be tenacious like that. You just got to go get it. And you can't hear the no's. Another thing, thinking about that childlike behavior or mentality or energy. One of the things that kind of popped out of my head when you were talking is when, like, the way kids ask questions. So a kid will dig into something, you tell them, "Oh, well, why is the sky blue?" "Well, because of this and this." "Why is that?" Especially like when they're just getting ready to talk and they ask why. And they'll ask 5, 7 times. And you're like, "God, won't you just stop asking me? Stop talking to me." But think about doing that as an adult around your idea. When the idea comes to you, why would this be a good idea? So you want to open up a retail store. Why do you want to open up a retail store? Because I want to provide jobs, or I want to provide a good quality shirts to the community. Why? Why do you want to provide good quality shirts to the community? Because there are no good quality shirts to the community. Why are there not any good quality shirts in the community? Well, because, I don't know why there aren't. Maybe because people don't have good enough jobs. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So you dig and you dig and you dig. And sometimes we need to do that because entrepreneurs always, everybody is in love with their ideas. You get an idea and you like, yeah, it's the best idea ever. It's the best idea ever. And no one's ever thought about this.
Yeah.
I know this would, and that's why you laughing, because you probably didn't have that moment yourself. I know I have.
Oh my God. I had it yesterday. I could have swore I invented something that was already invented.
But you knew that yours was the one. And then you like, why has no one done this?
Yep.
And then you research and you're like, oh, somebody did do it.
Yeah, I Googled it in like 2 seconds. I found, it's already done. All right. Bubble bursted.
Yeah, I know.
I was inspired from this Shark Tank. I'm like, okay, you got to invent something. And not to cut you off, I'll let you go back. But again, going back to the porcupine, it speaks about having that childlike innocence, going back to that kid. Remember, you would just play a game by making up anything. Oh, let's get these 2 sticks, and whoever jumps over the sticks, you would just make up stuff from whatever resource you had available, especially if you didn't have a lot of money growing up as a kid. You played with sticks, stones, rocks, whatever you could find, and you made up a game. And that is what entrepreneurs do. A lot of true entrepreneurs, they are creators of things. They invent things. They're innovators, and they find solutions to problems. I watch Shark Tank. They all have created something, and they're not all necessarily inventors. They just realize there's a problem. I'm a business person, and I saw the need. Okay, and here's my solution. But we've done that all the time as kids. okay, we don't have money. I can't get the latest hula hoop or whatever it was when you were a kid. And so what? I'm still going to have fun. So let me get some sticks and stones and my old Barbie, and we're going to play this. I'm going to make a castle or whatever. You were very inventive and creative as a kid, but we get older and we kind of lose that. And especially if you are immersed in certain environments where they just really zap your creativity on purpose, then, you know, it kind of makes you forget how you were when you were a kid, and the things that you used to like to do as a kid. And that's when were your most creative and your most imaginative, and, you know, the greatest part of you. And that's the more the godlike part of you, that childlike part of you. And, you know, it kind of gets lost and forgotten as we get older. So that's what
So
I was thinking. You know, you kind of lose that imagination and that creativity that you had when you were a kid, you know, when you get older and get
yeah,
stuck in that adult
yeah.
world.
I was talking to a friend of mine the day before yesterday, early
Mm-hmm.
morning, and we were talking about just some kids, and I don't know how we got on the subject of kids, which is interesting that we're talking about the show now. But we were talking about charities. That's it. We were talking about charity as a business, and they were talking about a local kid in my area. So his dad does work in the garage and cutting up pieces of wood. And so the kid started taking all the little extra blocks that would be left, the extra pieces of wood. And he would take a sanding paper and he would sand them down, get all the splinters off of them, and then paint the blocks. And he made building blocks. And every year he gets all of his friends and they gather up all these building blocks and he sells these building blocks in packages. And a percentage of the proceeds goes to charity. That's the creativity of a child.
Mm-hmm.
But us as adults, we just throw that junk in the trash,
Yeah, yeah.
So it's the purest thought, it's children are awesome. And sometimes you have to be childlike when you're even launching a business. If you think about it, if you just get as creative as you can possibly be and
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm totally not going to think about this thing like a normal adult.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to approach it totally opposite of anything that's logical.
Yep.
Then a lot of times you end up having little breakthroughs like, oh, wow, I see that now. So the innocence of a child is beautiful. And sometimes you need to just get to that innocence and creativity of the earlier years because, we've been stomped and beat and told what works and what doesn't work and given all these ideas about life and where life should be and should have been and where we're supposed to be at 35 and 40 and 20 or because we're from this neighborhood we're supposed to be this way. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
definitely get back to that childlike mentality.
Absolutely. You know, um, another thing I wanted to touch on, of course, is the porcupine. Again, with its faith and trust, is that of course it has those quills. So if you see it, you would think, or you think automatically, oh, it's just always ready to stick somebody with those quills. But it's actually the opposite. A porcupine is very non-aggressive. It's a very gentle creature. The porcupine's quills are only activated when fear is present. You know, because it's very gentle, very, very loving type of a creature. But if fear is present, then that's when those quills go up. You know, that's when he has, okay, I don't trust. The walls of trust are broken. So, you know, I'm going to have these quills ready. So that's kind of reflective of what we kind of do as humans. You know, we have the quills up just in general because we have a hard time trusting people that we meet because of, you know, whatever our life experiences have been. We have a hard time trusting our own selves because we felt like, oh, we may have not made the best decisions in our lives. So how can we trust that this is a good one? You know, and that fear is present. And when fear is present, you know that ego is activated, and you know that ego does, you know, the negative side of ego does not want to change. That does not want to die. It wants you to kind of stay the same because it knows what to expect, whether it's good or bad. You know, I always go back to relationships. If you're someone who says, yeah, you know, I really want to get into a relationship, but you only date people that are unavailable, that means you don't really want a relationship, right? Yeah, I see it all the time, even with readings I do. Okay, so you're dating somebody who's married and they live across the country, but you want a relationship. Not really. You don't really want a real relationship, you know, but you get into these situations over and over and over and over and over again because the ego already knows what to expect. You know, it's not going to work out. 1 + 1 = 2 every single time. So that's the same thing with certain situations when you want to evolve and start your own business, or okay, I want to finally stop spending all my money and save. The ego's like, what? No, we are very comfortable right here with this job that we've been going to every 20, you know, for the past 20 years, or we're very comfortable being broke because you always know you can go borrow some money from such and such. You don't need to save. We still need to go get our burgers and our $200 jeans or whatever it is that you know, your vice is that you spend your money on, because the ego likes to predict what will happen. Now, the thing is with when you kind of let that fear go and you take that leap of faith, you become like that fool, you know, which is good. You kind of take that leap of faith into the unknown, but that's when the growth and the adventure begins to happen, you know, and that's what this is again speaking about, that porcupine having that wonder for life. You know, each day is like an adventure, you know, and most people don't feel this way until they've been struck by, you know, some fatal disease or, you know, something that's kind of forced them to kind of have a shift in consciousness. But the porcupine is kind of teaching you to have that in general. You know, of course, if we're adults, we have to have our adult responsibilities, but it's teaching you to still have that wonder for life, you know, because it's all about the journey. You know, it's not about the destination, because you may not even get to the destination. So you got to enjoy the process of getting to wherever it is that you're aspiring to go, you know, and it takes that faith and trust to get there. So it's trusting in yourself, trusting in the divine plan that you are a part of. And that's another thing that the porcupine teaches you, is to use the talents that you have, you know, your greatest talents, to help further this plan. And I go back to Chief's teachings, you know, from Honest Spiritual Training. You know, he teaches us that there's the plan and plan Et. Et always means something smaller, like Smurfettes, you know, Smurfs, and you got Smurfettes. So that the main point of us being on the plan Et, it means we're a part of a major plan. You know, we're a small part of a bigger plan. So that means that you came here for a purpose. You came here for some reason to take some information back, but you have to use your talents to fulfill that goal, whatever it is that you came here to do. And that's what this porcupine is trying to teach you to do. Use those talents that you have to further the bigger plan. You know, that means your purpose for being here. And having that faith and trust in yourself will help you to get there. Having faith and trust in others will help you to get there. You know, so you can use those quills when you have to, but they shouldn't just be naturally up all the time. You know, it's okay to kind of let that guard down, because a lot of the times, as you know, we get older, we've gotten hardened by some of our experiences. But the porcupine is trying to teach us to evolve beyond those so that we can still realize success. And in order to do that, you do have to kind of let those walls down and become like a child again, and very trusting and, you know, all right, you know, this is what happened in the past. It's the past. Let's move forward and let's make it happen. But you won't be able to do that when you have a lot of fear present. You know, fear will kind of block your progress and your success. So,
amen. Amen. She just took us to church, folks. We went to church. If y'all didn't get that,
you know. But no, just a lot on my mind lately. And the porcupine, you know, you pick a card to see, okay, what's needed to be heard today. And I always say it's either something that I need to hear, you need to hear, and of course somebody in the audience or somebody's in the audience need to hear today. You know, so, and I was, you know, even on Chief Speaks, you know, Chief is saying like sometimes he comes up with the topic 30 seconds before the show. And it's because it's kind of like he's tapping into like what do the people need to hear. So it's a spiritual thing, not necessarily like uh, 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 I can't even think of the word right now. Whatever, I can't even think of the word. It's not just a systematic. Let me get my spreadsheet and what topic haven't we talked about today. It's spiritual. So we tap into it, and I enjoyed the show. I think this is much needed. To kind of inspire people to move forward in whatever their goals are by being a little bit more open and trusting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love what you said. I was thinking, I was like, oh, can I jump in on the quill thing? Because I was thinking the quills are for protection. And I was like, she just took us to school on that. So nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead. Add yours too before we close out. Go ahead.
I mean, what can I add to it? You hit it. You hit it. You hit it. I got nothing to add.
Oh no, I was gonna say put your genius on it.
No, I mean, you touched on every piece. I mean, the quills, it's a very soft, your dream, your idea, if you think it's the porcupine, it's protected too by those quills. And those quills, will come out when it's necessary. But there, so spiritually you're protected. You
Mm-hmm.
were given a dream or an idea for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's to take it somewhere. Maybe the dream is to take you somewhere, So just like you said, you came up with something today or yesterday, and then you said, all right, well, I looked on Google and found that it was already created. But now you'll have multiple ideas
Mm-hmm.
about inventions.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the whole invention idea was to take you to a place where your brain works that way, where
Mm-hmm.
you're always looking at things in a house or in a car or at a store like, maybe doorknobs shouldn't be like that. Maybe they shouldn't be slick. Or, maybe we could change the design of that. That doesn't work, So,
Yeah.
um, so maybe that whole thing was to take you somewhere, to take you to a place where your brain is always working that way. So our dreams, our desires, all that stuff is given to us for a reason. And I think it is our responsibility to to go forth and do something with it, whatever that is. So um, that's my philosophy. So we all, and it's funny because as a consultant, sometimes people will come to me with ideas, and I'll talk about the idea, but I never tell them it's a bad idea. And that is philosophy. I never say, oh, that's a stupid idea. I don't think that would work.
Hmm.
And the reason why I don't is because I wasn't given the idea.
Hmm.
And because I wasn't given the idea, I may not be able to see the spin on it that you have. I'm just looking at it through my lens. And so you may have a different lens that you've seeing it through because you were given the idea. So you may see it totally different than the way I see it. So, I talk logically through an idea, but I won't totally dismiss it because it wasn't mine. Just like there were search engines prior to Google. There was Netscape. There was uh, goodness, there's a bunch of them, and there's still a bunch of them. But the guys at Google had a way to see it differently than everybody else did. So just like I was listening to some podcast, and an investor said he had an opportunity to get in on Uber, and he said, "Oh, that's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anybody want to get in a car with a stranger?"
Well, I still feel like that actually, but
Yeah, but
it's a great
Google,
idea.
but Uber is worth several billion dollars. I mean, several $100 billion. So as an investor, he was like ground floor.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, it's stupid. Nah, no one would want to do that. But
Yeah.
people do it every day.
Right.
So
And even a taxi cab driver in general is a stranger, you know. So when I first thoughts, I was like, oh, that's weird. I'm not getting in a car with some weird stranger. Because even in the New York area, you know, before you cross the bridge, people is something now similar. They're not Uber. You don't have to contact Uber. They just line up, just random people with their cars, and they'll take you over the bridge for whatever. I don't even know how much money. And the other, just regular bus is like $2. At that point where you are, you're just going through the toll to get to New York City. So I'm like going down the stairs, and this lady's like, "Oh, you getting a ride?" And I'm like, "Yeah, via the bus, right? Aren't we all going to the bus?" And I go down, and it's like just she got into a stranger's car, and I was like, "Oh no, no." And then I like learned about the Uber thing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess it's not that bad. It's actually the similar thing to a taxi cab driver. They're still strangers." But to me, I'm still just creeped out by, you know, I'm thinking, what if the car is dirty and just all the things I'm thinking. I'm a weirdo. So I'm like, I will get to the city the way I've been getting there. But I've had so many investors, like you said, that were kicking themselves for not investing in Uber. Because, like you said, it's worth billions of dollars now. And somebody else probably told them it was a horrible idea. So I thought that was really interesting when you said you don't say it's a bad idea, because when you every time you watch these shows with people with their ideas, it's somebody that's always just good lord. I'm like telling them how horrible it is, and you know sometimes they aren't the best ideas, but you'll see a mix. You know, especially again, you're going back to Shark Tank. Half of the people will like it, and then you know it would be 2 or 3 people that thinks it's a horrible idea. A year later, they're talking about how they made $1 million last year because of investing with John and Damon John, and he took them to the next level, and now they have $1 million this year from an idea that the next guy sitting next to him thought was completely stupid. So, you know, I think that's really, really cool that you look at it from that perspective, because you're right. You don't see what that person sees. And the ones that don't give up, you always hear how successful they are the year later, you know. So I think that's really cool.
yeah, it's not mine. It was yours. You know, you might see it totally different way.
Yep.
But yeah, the card. You know, I mean, look, who would have thought that you can do Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and make money. I got a friend, and I got a buddy in New York.
Hmm.
He single. Think he's making like a couple of grand a month off Airbnb,
Mm.
letting people stay in his condo with him.
Yeah. Wow.
Hey, I'll put this on the show, and people mark my words. Don't sleep on the cooperative economy.
Mm.
Car sharing, house sharing. We live in a cooperative economy. So
Mm.
look around. It's all in front of you. So
I hear you. Well, this has been an excellent, excellent show. Any more gems before we close out?
that was it. The cooperative economy.
Yeah, that was dope. Yeah, I like that one. Something to think about. And we'll mark your words. But again, you've been listening to Masterminds Monday. And again, I was keep forgetting to tell you that this is a live show. All the shows are live. But you can list your questions going forward if you are tuning in live. I see we have a few viewers here. If you press the Q&A button in your screen, it should be like a white box to the top right-hand corner of your screen. You click on that, you'll see Q&A. You press it, you could just type in a question, and we'll answer it. So we won't hear your voice, but you know you'll be able to see your question, and we'll see it too. We can answer it here live on the air. So you know you won't be put out there on the spot, but we'll just answer your questions. If you have anything that you want to ask, whether it's specifically to the topic or not, just let us know. As long as it's related in some sort, not customer service type of questions or anything like that. But again, we're here every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us here on Wednesdays for Annual Sasso, Thursdays and Fridays for Thunderground Thursdays, Foundation of Fridays for Chief. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And every Sunday, another live Q&A, which is also available through Blog Talk, which is Chief Speaks. And that's from 11 to 1 a.m. every Sunday. So again, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you all next week. Peace.
Peace.